Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Northampton Township Board of Supervisors meeting for June 28th, 2023. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance and then a moment of silence. Please think of State Trooper Rougeau, Pennsylvania State Trooper killed in the line of duty this past month. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We do have a couple special presentations tonight, but I do have a couple announcements to get started. First, there's two opportunities for public comment. There's the first opportunity is for public comment for agenda items only. There's a sign-in sheet in the back of the room. And then there's a second opportunity at the end of the meeting for public comment, which is open comment for any topic. In both cases, I'll ask if you're a resident of the township or not, and I'll ask you to recognize yourself. We were, right before the meeting, made aware that there may be some misinformation about the agenda, and some of you may be here for that, so I just wanted to clear something up. We were told that somehow in social media some inaccurate information came out that there was going to be discussion about the 39 acres property, which is on Hatboro Road tonight. It is not on the agenda. It is not up for discussion with the board. The current situation status has not changed. There was a grant application put in a couple months ago. There was a public meeting before that grant application. We couldn't put the grant application in without it. It was discussed at a Park and Rec Board meeting. And we're just waiting. So there's been no action, and there isn't going to be anything that happens until we hear about the grant, which we don't expect until the end of this year or the beginning of next year. So those of you that came and wanted to be heard, you are welcome to stay, and you're welcome to have a public comment at the end of the meeting if you like. But if you thought that was going to be on the agenda, I didn't want to keep you here and disappoint you. So, okay, thanks for that. So first up, we have a special presentation. We have Michael Dougherty from Wind Waste Innovations. They handle the waste from Northampton Township, not Whitetail, different company. And he is the marketing manager, and he is here to present us with a donation check to both the library and the Parks and Rec. So I'm going to ask the two supervisors, Rose and Gasper, to come down, and Jen Feen from Parks and Rec, and Amy Wardle from the library to come up and accept this generous donation. I'll turn it over to you.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and board members. Mike Dougherty, Wind Waste. You indicated what we do. Thank you for that. I do want to mention that the municipal solid waste collected in this township is delivered to our plant in Falls Township. We operate 24/7, process about 500,000 tons a year, and generate enough power to power about 40,000 homes and recycle about 14,000 tons of metal at the back end when we're complete. Our community outreach program has as a pillar to conduct outreach in communities where we do business. That would be here. And this evening, I'm excited to announce that in 2023, on behalf of the employees of our Falls Township facility, we are pleased to contribute $10,000 to sponsor the 2023 Sounds of Summer concert series and for the library's ongoing computer class program. So thank you, Mr. Chairman, for having me here today.
Well, that is fantastic.
Good check.
Some pictures. And I'm not sure if Dr. Rose or Paula may have a word to say.
Hold it up straight ahead.
Thank you.
I just want to say thank you so much for the donation. I'll tell you what, our sights and sounds of the summer concerts have been phenomenal. And I hope that you come and see some of them and see where your money has gone, because they are great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I also wanted to thank you for, and I really appreciate, we all appreciate the money for our library and for the computer classes. They're very popular, and it'll go to good use.
We've
Thank
been a longstanding supporter of the library, you know, so.
Oh,
we're very
great.
glad to be that.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Amy.
Thank you. Jen, I'll ask you to stay up, and Paula and Kim to sit down. Next on the agenda is we're going to recognize July as Parks and Rec Month, and the rest of the supervisors will come down as well.
I have to say that Parks and Rec is very near and dear to my heart. I think that our Parks and Rec changes people's lives, from our seniors to our kids. And so I just want to, I'll just read a little bit from our declaration. Parks and Rec is an integral part of communities throughout this country, including Northampton Township. Our Parks and Rec promotes health and wellness, improving the physical and mental health of people who live near the parks. It promotes time spent in nature, which positively impacts mental health by increasing cognitive performance and well-being, and alleviating illnesses such as depression, attention deficit disorders, and Alzheimer's. Parks and Rec encourages physical activities by providing space for popular sports, walking trails, a swimming pool, fitness classes for all ages, and many other activities designed to promote active lifestyles. Our Parks and Rec develops programming and educational activities, such as a certified preschool, out-of-school time programming, summer camps, youth sports, and environmental education that are critical to childhood development. They also provide playgrounds accessible to children of all abilities where everyone can play. And our Blue Park on Hatboro and Bristol Road is the jewel in our crown. Our Parks and Rec increases a community's economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of the local tax base, the attraction and retention of businesses, and crime reduction. Parks and Rec are fundamental to the environmental well-being of our community. It's an essential and adaptable infrastructure that makes our communities resilient in the face of natural disasters and climate change. Our Parks and Rec areas ensure the ecological beauty of our community and provide a place for children and adults to connect with nature and recreate outdoors. Our U.S. House of Representatives has designed July as Park and Rec Month, and we, as Northampton Township Supervisors, we recognize the benefits derived from Park and Rec. So let it be resolved that today, Northampton Township Board of Supervisors, that July is recognized as Park and Rec Month in the Northampton Township.
Yeah.
You want to say something?
Just thank you all for your support. Thank you to the township supervisors and administrators. We definitely couldn't do it without all of your support, so thank you.
All right, let's do it. Lisa?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Is there any public comment on agenda items? No? Okay, thank you. We'll go to consent items, approval of the minutes. Paula?
Mr. Chairman, if there are no objections, I request that the minutes of May 24 be approved by unanimous consent.
Thank you. Accounts payable?
Yes, I have the bills list for June 14th, 2023. Total all funds, $1,351,542.93. And I also have the bills list for June 28th, 2023. Total all funds, $2,841,721.77.
Thank you, Kim. If there's no other consent items, I'll accept a motion to approve them as presented.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. First up, under new business, are the applicants here?
They are. They may be out in the lobby still.
Okay. There we go. Okay. Consider a preliminary and final plan of subdivision for the Bucks County Roses property. Barry?
Sure. Gentlemen, if you could sit at the table. Maybe could we bring up the plan on the screen, if that's possible, or?
Yes.
Okay. So, gentlemen, maybe if you could start off with just a brief introduction of who you are and what your background is with the applicant.
Sure. My name is Tom Kessler with Willow Hill Development. We are the equitable owners of the Bucks County Roses property, which I think commonly known as.
Okay.
And been working on this project for a number of years, a number of iterations, and sort of have now come back around to doing the 13-lot by-right plan that you see in front of us that we've been working through with township engineer and staff for the last year or so, and went through the planning commission with that. So that's sort of what's here in front of you.
Okay.
Dan McKenna is our engineer with Howell Engineering. Let him.
Oh, sorry, your name's Dan?
Good evening. My name's Dan McKenna.
Oh, Dan, okay.
Site engineer with Howell Engineering. I did the plan set here, stormwater management, surveying, all out of my office.
Sure. Okay.
Yep.
So the board's had a chance to look at the plans, and thank you for coming before the board. We do see a very positive movement that, we're going to buy right with the 1 acre zoning. I think that's a much better fit within our neighborhood, things like that. Our responsibility as a board, though, is to review the plans and make comments on it. And one of the things I wanted to bring to your attention is that on lot 13, maybe you could explain the configuration of that lot. It was brought to our attention that you're going to have a stormwater management system on that lot for the entire development. And I guess that caused us a pause a little bit because we were concerned that, homeowner would purchase that property and then have a stormwater management system for all 13 lots on their property. And then I guess there would be an HOA established that would pay for the maintenance of that stormwater management system. So if you could expand upon that, that would be helpful.
Sure, let me just comment generally on that, and then obviously Dan's the expert, so we can get into more
Sure.
of the finite granular on the lot. So obviously, when you're looking to do do a community, obviously there's always stormwater management facilities, and you try to pick the best location for them, obviously from a innocuous standpoint for the community, but also it's best practices for stormwater and the flow of water, and being cognizant of conservation district, and making sure that we're in compliance with what are, as you know, pretty onerous requirements about water can flow, how it can flow, and that situation. So on this particular property, there are, we looked at obviously several options. I mean, one of them is, and you've seen every community, almost every community I've ever done, and Dan can speak to him, is always there's typically some stormwater facility on portions of lots, or one lot, or multiple lots, or all lots. And I think and I'll let Dan speak for himself on that, but in this particular case, where the options were either to put smaller stormwater management facilities on 13 lots, we thought that better practice would be to consolidate onto one lot for many reasons. One, for ease of construction, to make sure it's done right, and more importantly, for maintenance, because as you said, the HOA in all communities is responsible for the maintenance of stormwater, open space. If they're rec buildings, that comes out of the HOA fees. So from a maintenance perspective too, we felt that having it consolidated in one lot was a best practice for the future, not necessarily today, tomorrow, 1 year, 2 years, but also 5, 7, 10 years down the line when the builder's gone, developer's gone, and the HOA's got identifiable management of the site, that they know, okay, lot 13 is where we have some underground beds, and it's much easier to maintain. They can do regular inspections. It's an easier management from an HOA perspective. So that's what we sort of chose in this spot. And other communities I've done, there are other situations that come up, but there's always little things that you have to try to work through, and this is what we chose in this particular case. I can let Dan talk more particularly about this particular lot and what facilities we have on here.
Yeah, so that's pretty fair assessment of what Tom provided there. Lot 13 is larger in its size out here too, so there's a little bit of extra space, with the understanding that it's encumbered with, there's the emergency access easement and the stormwater management system, but it is one of the larger, I think it actually might be the largest lot on the subdivision. So that being said, it also still has the potential for more additional impervious coverage installed. I know the limits are 20% on the lot. If you look at the table on the cover sheet, lot 13 is only at 9.5% when compared to the whole lot footprint. Again, because most of these have the same size house or similar size houses. They're closer to the 13, 14, 15% range of impervious coverage on the lot. So again, that shows the sort of oversized nature of lot 13 in the first place. Then with that, obviously grade and elevation has a lot to do with our stormwater management program. We've got to collect the stormwater somewhere, and it wants to run off towards Buck Road. That's sort of led us to this point. And with that, soils testing we've conducted on site, it yields favorable soils for infiltration, which we have to do to meet your ordinance and get our DEP and Conservation District approvals. So that being said, while we understand that stormwater management system encumbers this, a large portion of lot 13, I will say that a large portion of that bed is beyond the setback lines. It's already outside of sort of the buildable area for that lot. So there's a balancing act there that we're trying to give a viable home lot to a home buyer, but we also need to provide stormwater management here, and this gives us, like Tom said, one central facility that's easier for maintenance now and in the future, rather than having to go back to every individual lot here and do some sort of inspection or maintenance on their own property, or have each of these individual properties restricted, again, with stormwater management systems on each one.
Yeah. Sure. No, I was going to say, I think the board generally would, at least I personally would strongly support the concentration of stormwater management on one particular lot or one particular part, area of the lot. So I'm in agreement with you there. I guess it just seems to be, to me, it seems to be a lot happy on lot 13, because you have the easement for the emergency vehicles going through there also, and then you have this, and then knowing the particular larger parcel of land there. One of the thoughts that we talked about as a board was having the stormwater management system put on the proposed open space on the lower section of the lot. So on the drawing up there on the far right, I think, obviously this board is making decisions not only for today and tomorrow, but for the future. And the concern is putting a lot of concentration of stormwater management system on one particular household. and, we're just trying to be aware of that. And so I know there was some discussion, perhaps, of having the stormwater management system put on the proposed open space, and I know that could trigger some events with trees and things like that, that you would need to seek zoning variance with it. But I think there may be support among this board where if we could come to some type of agreement of having the stormwater management system put entirely on the open space and relieving Lot 13 of that, this board could actually, try to work with you or recommend to the board, the zoning hearing board for a variance for the tree work.
I mean, obviously, that's not our preference.
No, I understand it, but I think...
Working on this plan
yeah.
for, 5 years, this recent plan iteration for, a better part of a year, and obviously an incredible time and expense. And we think we have a plan that, no plan is perfect, right?
Sure.
So we're doing our best to accommodate, and there's always some balancing. And just so you know, as a developer, I'm not in the business of developing lots that I think are either unmarketable or problematic from an ultimate homeowner's perspective. I mean, that's what we do. That's what I do. So I'm not in, there's no advantage to me to build a lot that down the line is going to be problematic. Are there various lots throughout any development where there are some challenges to them? Yes, but it's not in my best interest now or my reputation to build lots that cause significant problems or hardships. With regard to Lot 13, I think obviously there are some. I don't think that they're outweighed by the benefits, the size of the lot, the location, the various reasons why we put it there. And as I think we discussed this a little bit, came up with the Planning Commission, we will have numerous disclosures on the lot, either through the HOA documents, through representations of the builder that the ultimate homeowner will sign and acknowledge, restrictions, on the deed of that lot. I mean, there's numerous things that we can do to help prevent, which I understand with the scenario that you guys are worried about is somebody coming back to you in the future and asking for a swimming pool or whatever it is and asking for a variance. And while I can't promise you what a homeowner will do in the future, I can tell you that we can make it so that the homeowner will know and will not be able to come to this board or to the township with a straight face and say, oh, I had no idea that there was any restrictions when I bought that house. I can promise you that. If it would be disingenuous for the homeowner that buys this lot and builds a home, beautiful home here, for them ever to come to you and try to pretend that they didn't know that what they're buying, that the restrictions on this particular lot. And I've done throughout my career where we put easements on a lot, or there, all the various things that prevent certain additional structures from the house that is built. And we would do that same thing in this particular case. And, I understand the board's hesitancy in some issues, your concern of having people come back on a regular basis. Here we're talking about one lot in the community. And as I said, we will work with the solicitor or the engineer on numerous levels to ensure that the homeowner is well aware of what they're purchasing at the property.
Sure. And no, I'm not doubting that. I guess I'm just want to emphasize the concern that myself and some other members of the board has, and that it's not only the first person that buys that home or the second home person, it may be future generations. And I think there is a workable solution, and we've talked to our township engineer about this, of moving the stormwater management system to the proposed open space. And I guess I'm just telling you, just being straight with you, and there's a couple other issues I want to talk to you about, but I think that's a strong issue for us, that we feel very uncomfortable having all the stormwater management on Lot 13, also with the access for safety. And that doesn't seem to be a workable solution. That's what I'm telling you. And I think there is a workable solution, moving it to the proposed open space, and that's a natural grade of the land there. And I said, the board could work with you, perhaps with the zoning hearing board, in getting some type of variances on the trees. And I do appreciate the fact it's taking a long time here, but at the same time, this is the first time the board's seeing it for a by right plan. We saw all the proposals for, variations for R2 and things like that. So I think that's more than accommodating. The other issue I think I just want to point out too is that the roads, is the plan to have the roads dedicated to the township?
The plan would be to offer them. The township can tell us, usually townships tell us ahead of time
Sure.
whether they would accept it, and based on that, I usually ask for the township to commit to that in the developers agreement so that we can budget for that appropriately in the HOA annual dues if they are or not going to take them. Obviously, if you're not going to take them, we just have to advertise the.
Yeah, I think the preference, to be honest, is to have the roads dedicated to the town. Therefore, as you know, the roads have to be brought up, make sure that that's standard, that we would meet the requirements of the township, which I think they already are, yeah. Our preference is that we, once again, we're looking long-term here, and a lot of situations we had were smaller communities like this, the roads are not dedicated, and, 20, 30 years from now, the roads need to be replaced. And then the homeowners have to say, well, geez, it's not my responsibility, the town owns it, and that's not true. And it becomes an issue. So that's why, and I think it's better for you, that we would have the roads dedicated to the,
From my perspective, I sort of, through my career, it sort of goes back and forth. I've had early on in my career where the townships wanted every bit of road that they could get for the various grants and items they got, and then as lately it's really been the opposite, that even in large communities they haven't won them. So that it's like I said, I have no preference either way. Happy to do that. Again, we're talking about with Lot 13, but with regard to the roads too. Again, that's in the HOA documents. It's in the budgets. They'll see the amortization that'll be in the schedules of the HOA for, it would be clear, if you didn't want them, it would be clear, as it is in all.
Sure. No, I understand. Yeah, I
So it wouldn't, again, that wouldn't be something that the residents could come back with a straight face. And with regard to, second, third, fourth home buyers, the concern is, again, like I said, if we have a deed restriction recorded on the lot, there is no way somebody could come back with any modicum of, honesty, but, without knowledge, claiming lack of knowledge that there was restriction on the lot. It would be clear. Solicitor, I'm sure he's done, numerous ones that I've done where it's clear. Again,
No, I know, but
Understand the
I'm just
concern.
saying, yes, you're in the business, you understand that, and the solicitor would understand it too, but I think we're, at least me personally, I think a lot of the board members also are concerned about the average person buying a home, things like that.
Sure.
May not fully understand the deed restrictions or covenants, things like that. And all we're saying, I personally am not comfortable with that at all, the stormwater management system there. I think it's too much for that lot, and, just to be aware of that one issue.
we have, I don't know, again, I don't know if this helps at all, but, Dan and I could, if we get through tonight, Dan and I could work with Amanda to do our best to significantly minimize, I know, significance in the eye of the beholder, but we could, there's different things that we could do, there's other, product and other types of things that we could try to do to increase, if I'm saying this right, increase the buildable area that's restricted. There'll still obviously be some restrictions, but we can do our best to minimize that even further if that's something that the board would take under consideration. If you're saying no, I understand.
Yeah, I can't speak for the other board members, but I don't think the board's going to be there, to be honest with you. I'd try to be honest with you. And then my personal view, I would not be there. That, I think it's too much on Lot 13, it's too much concentration with the stormwater management system, and I'm concerned about, the next buyers, things like that. And if there's a problem there, it's going to be impacting not only Lot 13, but all the other homes too. I think there is a workable solution. We could do it on the proposed open space there. One of the things that you had budgeted for was the cost of maintaining the roads and the HOA, things like that. We're telling you here today that, the township would like to take on that responsibility and be responsible for the roads and maintenance and going forward with that. The other issue I just want to, talk a little bit about is that we have the cell tower on the site, and there is an easement to the trail there, proposed trail. And
We are able to accommodate that.
Sure. So I guess, one of our thoughts is, what are your thoughts for that? Is that, obviously that has to be disclosed in all the deeds, that, there is a potential trail to be there, and that easement is there too. And I guess there was discussion whether it be parking on that easement, or what's the plan for that?
I don't think we had any parking. I mean, it's going to be an easement, which I think would grant the township rights under that easement.
So all of, excuse me, all of the open space parcels, which is lot 14 and 15, are offered to township if they wish to have them in their entirety. Again, obviously with the cell tower easements and things like that, we could parse it out. We show specifically on 14 the trail easement. Again, it was a placeholder, and again, it gives you that significance
Sure,
to a potential buyer. There's a driveway proposed to access the cell tower that that's going to be needed
Sure.
for maintenance. There's no problem providing a couple of parking spaces there if there are people that were going to look to access the trailhead there or something
Sure.
like that. We could accommodate that, no problem.
We can even do them, and maybe it's gravel to.
Yeah. And not that we're encouraging people to park there, but, our concern also is that if we don't have a spot dedicated for that, or some spots dedicated for that, it's going to force people who choose that access there, they're going to be parking in the street there, in front of people's homes. We're trying to, mitigate that issue there.
So, I mean, I guess there's two ways we could address it. We could either, as part of the easement grant, we could have the language, work with the solicitor on language that would allow the township to, construct parking if they desire
Sure,
in the
okay.
future. I mean, as you know, right, currently, there won't be any need for parking, so I'm not.
Yeah. So we can wait till the solicitors, figure that.
I'm
That's
just saying
not a
we
big
can
issue
do-
with us, yes.
We can work through that. I'm not sure, I mean, my opinion is that we wouldn't necessarily want to build those now. It could be however long before that becomes
And that's fine,
viable.
and the trail has not been, approved to that
It could
that
be,
point like that.
right, okay. So we can work through that.
The main issue I think we have is that we want to make sure that the potential is disclosed to the buyers of the land, and it's recorded in the deeds.
Yeah.
So,
Again, I can tell you, when it comes to disclosure, I am over-disclosed. I want people to have absolutely every bit of knowledge. So if there's a choice between whether something may or may not, I always put it in, because I think more information is always better, and that's always the way I've operated. And so believe me, there'll be again, full clarity will be on what's going on that lot. So,
Okay.
cell tower to the easement. And
Yeah.
Could potentially, what access could potentially be used.
So, and just the other issue I just want to highlight too is that there is a little bit of awkwardness on the lot that's to the far left. I can't see the number on that. We have almost a flagged lot driveway to it, things like that, which is, unusual. I know you're trying to maximize the potential for the site, things like that, and I think the board can accept that. But that's, one of the things that, it's, we're trying to show some flexibility with that.
I understand, and I understand from the looks of it, but from a buyer perspective, there'll be several buyers who actually will find that to be an advantage. They will actually want to have that sort of exclusivity of that private drive, even though it'll most likely be maintained by the HOA, but the appearance of a private drive, that's actually,
Sure.
somebody will actually pay a premium for that. Appreciate your side of that.
When you say most likely, it will be taken care of by the HOA, or it won't?
Well, I mean, I think
just-
up to the,
Sorry.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's all good.
yeah, I mean, most likely we would have the HOA. I mean, typically, you go two ways. I mean, it's more exclusively for one lot, but I've done that in the past where, even though it is, it just makes more sense to have the HOA maintain that, again, for all, for reasons. You want to have the HOA maintaining all road structures that are not abutting or on property.
Sure.
So, asking the question, yes, we would have the HOA.
I just like clear terms.
Okay.
okay.
Yes, the HOA will.
Is that a,
Mr. Pellegrino has a couple comments.
is that a flag lot, Tom? Or is that, what is
Well,
that?
you mean, are you talking about technical definition, or? I'll leave that to
Lot
Dan.
9, is it a flag lot? Is it going to be owned by, is the
Yeah, that's the
flag?
question. Is it
Is it a
easement
flag
or is it
lot?
owned by the last lot?
I don't understand how the HOA can maintain that driveway
Well,
if they,
HOA can,
are they going to own it? Or is the lot going to own
well,
it?
you can have it owned by the lot owner, but maintained by the HOA. That's, have that with trail systems, you have that with any number of things you can do. I mean, we can,
I almost think the preference would be, I can't speak for the board.
I
but-
think the owner should maintain the
Yeah, I agree. I
flag.
think the owner should
If it's a
maintain it.
flag lot, the owner should maintain the driveway.
Yeah.
In lot 7 and 9, there are two situations.
Right.
There's
Same thing.
It is on the lot. It's,
Okay, so if it's on the lot, we would clearly, I'm sorry if I was being confusing. If it's on the lot, we would have the homeowner do it.
Well, is it on the lot?
It is.
Because you said two different things, so I
I'm
want
sorry, if I was
clarification.
talking about, in terms of technical terms, to the extent that, I can't see the lot line from here, to the extent that it's on the lot, it would be private maintained.
Okay, can I get clarification? Is it on the lot? Is it a flag lot?
It is.
So the flag goes to the cul-de-sac, and the owner of that lot maintains that driveway from the cul-de-sac down to the home?
There's the exception being the driveway apron, which would be within the road right-of-way.
Right.
So there's a
But that's
small section of
that's the homeowner's responsibility also.
Typically,
Yes.
if you're,
Well, it is here. It is here.
Yes, that-
Curb and sidewalk are homeowner responsibility.
Sorry, that was confusing about that. That's what.
Okay, so we have clarification that it's going to be owned and maintained by the lot owner. Yes?
That's fine. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, that's fine.
That's how it's drawn, too. So it's.
Yes, I know, but
No, it's good.
Tom said
agree.
something different.
No, I agree, Bob, I agree
So
100%.
I want clarification, I want to be
Sorry
clear.
if I misspoke. What I was saying is that I've done it several different ways. I can do it several different ways. There's no preference. I'm happy. I think you're right. If it's solely on a lot, we will have the homeowner maintain it. I've had different ones where there's a lot, it pulls up, and then it sort of splits. In those cases, I've done it several different ways. But yes, in this particular case, I agree with you that the homeowner should own it and maintain it to the
Okay.
curb.
Okay, so
Okay.
that's.
Sorry.
I have one more.
Yeah. Well, that also minimizes any future disputes over
Right.
rights of easement,
And
things
again,
like
that'll
that.
be
yeah.
clarified, and all the
Maintenance.
documents will be perfectly clear,
Okay.
so yeah.
So on Lot 13, going back to Lot 13, the issue of our concern is that when you build a home there, and you've got a stormwater management system, and you've got an emergency access easement on that lot, it leaves very little room for anything else besides the house. And we've had this situation before where people buy a home and they want to put a deck on, they want to put a pool in, and now they can't. And they're mad at us because they can't. So I want to understand, is there room on Lot 13 for that homeowner to put a deck on or possibly put a pool in? Or is it going to be, you said earlier that the house would fit easily in the building envelope, and I thought I heard you say it could be moved closer to the road. But is there enough space in that building envelope for any additions to the home, like a deck or a
External
pool,
additions other than the footprint.
other than the footprint of the house?
Typically, sometimes homeowners build, we talk about this globally, a deck is
Well, you want a
sometimes
deck on the
considered-
back of your
Yeah,
home,
right.
you want
Or a deck, a pool, a shed. I
a
think that's what
shed,
Bob's
right,
asking.
anything.
Can that happen?
And if you've got
And keep-
if you've got a stormwater management system, you know, nothing can go on top of that.
Yep.
yeah, and
And is there room for a shed on the site? Is there room for a deck?
And to Mr. Pellegrino's point, which isn't reflected necessarily on the site plan that we're all looking at, but is reflected on the stormwater management plan, the underground facilities actually are located not only outside of the building envelope, but within the building envelope as well. So, so to the extent that, again, the board has concerns over exactly what Mr. Pellegrino and Mr. Moore have described, in this case, we know going in that our concerns are elevated because not only are these things located outside of the building envelope, but they're also within the building envelope.
Well, I don't think we would have, the board would have this concern if it was outside the building envelope. The whole reason we're having the discussion is because there's some of it is within the building envelope, right? I mean,
Well, we might, because,
we might,
because
right.
again, it's not uncommon for homeowners to come in and,
oh, sure.
if necessary, get variances to put different things in their yards. And again, the access easement precludes the placement of anything in there, variance or not. So that takes care of that side yard. This is a corner lot to begin with, so it has two front yards. And now, we're getting to the point where within the building envelope, there are areas that they will be precluded from essentially putting anything because it's on top of the stormwater management system.
I mean, it looks to me like you can't put anything else on the back of that house, or
So I'm looking at,
And I'm not going to want an undersized house on the biggest lot in the development.
And I can assure you,
We have done, we have done that, we have done that.
I
That's
can
not-
assure you, because it happens most all the time when someone buys a new home, the first thing they come in for is a permit to put a deck on or put a pool in.
Sure.
And I'd like to know what is capable on this lot.
That's
What
a
can
fair
happen, what can be added to it? If you build the house, is there any space to build a deck or a pool or to put a shed?
And obviously, some of
Because
that
if
is
the
dependent.
answer is no, my recommendation to the board is you relocate the stormwater management system somewhere else.
As you know,
Because we don't want to face that issue
Right.
down the road when you're gone. And I heard you say earlier, too, that, all those restrictions are in the homeowners association documents. Well, you know
and on the
that
deed.
nobody reads 100 pages of homeowners association documents.
And-
So somewhere it has to be made clear to these people in another way, besides the HOA docs,
Yeah.
like a deed restriction or some acknowledgement that they sign at settlement
Yep.
that's
I think I
explained to
mentioned it- I think I
them
mentioned acknowledgement as well. Yeah.
that they understand that if they buy that lot, they won't be able to put a deck on, or they won't be able to put a pool in,
Obviously, the
if
answer-
that's true.
The answer
if
to your
that's true.
question is a little bit of a moving target, and Dan can answer it, but obviously, if somebody who buys that lot, if somebody could buy that lot and want a 4,000 square foot house, and if that's the case, then there's going to be a different answer than if they max out the buildable, the buildable square footage that they could. But
What's the maximum size of a home that could fit on that on that lot?
I mean, per zoning,
Yeah.
the maximum impervious surface ratio is 20% on the lot.
Right.
So
But you've got
that's-
setbacks and other restrictions that
Correct.
might
Side yard.
further restrict that. So do you know what the size of a home that can be built on that lot
So,
is?
I mean, what's shown on there now, I can do the math here. Pardon my,
Well, let me ask you a question, if it can. Are there any other board members that have any questions? Let's try to get all your questions out.
absolutely. Yeah.
And then we'll kind of figure out what the path is going to be
Great.
here.
That's great.
Did
I had a
Bob,
couple
do
of
you have any-
comments too, if you don't mind, Mr. Chairman.
I'm sorry?
When you have a chance, I have a couple of
Sure. Bob, do you have
comments
any
too.
questions or any comments?
Briefly, welcome. I've
Hi.
gladly listened. Yeah, it doesn't feel welcome at the moment, I guess. But,
No.
we spent a lot of time in executive session going over this. This is not a spur of the moment, let's do this on the fly situation. And I've sat here and listened to everything that's been said, and I think you've heard the concerns rather clearly. The dedication of the roads, the parking spaces, that's not the issue here. Lot 13 is obviously the issue.
Yeah.
And we said, why can't we talk about putting it in the proposed open space? I listened carefully, and maybe you would have said it and didn't, but I didn't hear you say, we cannot do that. That is not possible. It's just not what you want to do. Is that where we are?
Well, so obviously, when you design a plan, we do our best, especially by our plan, you do your best to comply with the ordinances, right? So obviously, that area is heavily wooded and would tip us into an area where we would need variance relief from
Which
zoning.
we'd be willing to work with you on.
The board would, yes.
Yes.
But it would require, as we know, require, time, effort, money. I know that's on me, but it would require a significant amount of time to rework the plans, go back, several different times. So the answer is no, absolute. Could we do it? Yeah, I'm not sitting here telling you we can't. It's, at this stage, it's not our preference. And again, like I said, I don't build lots, I don't create lots that I think are unmarketable or not, someone's not going to be happy with. I understand fully the board's concerns. I do understand, obviously.
And I'm sure you don't, and I think you do. I think we've all made it very clear. And I heard you mention early on the amount of time that's been spent on this. I was not a part of the board that reviewed previous plans. I've heard of them without passing judgment. I think the right decisions were made there. I personally am not in the practice of telling people what to do with their property, but it seems to me there is a potential workaround here, and the answer is that's not what we want to do. That is not our preference. And I don't know
I'm
that
not saying
that's...
it's not what we want to do. Obviously, we're trying to convince you that we think that the way the plan is set up is a workable plan, and that will be very successful, and that lot will be a successful lot. So that's just our perspective of it. Obviously, you guys have your perspective, and neither one of us is wrong. It's just we're here in front of the board to try to get
I understand.
approval.
Look, and we're here now, and this board's got plenty of cover at the moment, and I'm not going to speak for the rest of the board. I'll speak for myself, but we have plenty of cover right now. But we have to consider, it's easy to say, there's a deed restriction, there'll be full seller's disclosures, other things. In my own personal experience, at the moment of the contract, oh, this makes perfect sense. 2 owners, 3 owners, 4 owners from now, we're now dealing with decisions of prior boards. Some members are still on, some are not. But
Sounds like there's a story, a backstory.
No. You know, part of our duty, I believe, to the township is to try, although none of us have a crystal ball, to foresee potentialities and to try to prevent them where we can. Sometimes you can't, but I think there is a potentiality here that can be avoided, and that's the hurdle. And I've heard everything you've said. And I think Mr. Moore touched on a lot of points on behalf of all of us. I'm not going to reiterate them all, but it seems like there is a potential solution. It's imperfect, and I understand there are other hurdles, but the hurdle you're trying to clear right now, again, speaking for myself, is a large one.
And I'll just,
I have one other comment that may help. The board has probably for the last 10 years approved 28-foot wide roads rather than 31-foot wide roads. That helps in a number of ways. It helps your impervious cover, and in the long term, it helps the township if we take dedication, because it costs less to pave a 28-foot road than it does a 31-foot road. So that might be an option available to you in a revision to the plan.
Kim or Paul, do you have any questions? Comments?
I don't feel comfortable about Lot 13. I really do not feel comfortable about it. I just feel that it might not be a problem with the first owner, but the second one, because we've seen problems from in the past, and I just want to stop a problem before it starts.
What do you think, Paul?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what Mr. Salser mentioned about a potential problem. There's a potential problem there. And when we, as the Board of Supervisors, have to be responsible and try to do the right thing for our residents.
Amanda? Did you?
Sure, just a few comments and clarifications. Regarding Lot 13, I know the question was brought up, what can be built as far as future improvements on that lot. Currently, as they have it shown, there is landscaping on that lot as well, which satisfies some of their tree replacement requirements, which essentially takes away much of the remaining space that could potentially have a deck or a shed or some sort of future improvement. I'm sure those could potentially be relocated, but as it's presented now, those are in sort of the last remaining usable space on Lot 13. The second sort of comment or maybe question I had was regarding the retaining wall that is situated at the corner of the property near Lot 8 and 9. It's kind of a dark, bold line near the end of the cul-de-sac on the plan. Is that to be maintained by the HOA or by one of the property owners? Because I know part of that would be in the right-of-way as well. And I don't know if it's the intent to have the township take dedication of a retaining wall.
Again, that would be up to the township, but if the township did not want that burden, we would certainly put that on the HOA. The maintenance would be...
We would not want that
Then we would have the
responsibility. We don't typically take responsibility for those types of
And I don't
structures.
blame you. That would be something we just add into the budget. There really typically wouldn't be very little cost associated with budgeting for that, so it would be fine to have that be HOA maintenance.
Thanks.
And then my third comment is Currently, I don't believe the stormwater management system is designed for the maximum allowable impervious on each lot. So any future improvements would then be subject to additional stormwater management measures, on each respective lot. Again, if that were to happen on Lot 13, if there was a patio or something put in, there would need to be some sort of stormwater management again added to that lot, and I'm not sure at this point that there's any space allowed for that.
So I guess.
I have one other thing,
Go ahead, Bob.
if I may. Lot 15, which is the open space, how is the HOA going to get access to that lot for maintenance? I don't see anything on this, at least the plan that I have, that shows an access point, unless I'm missing it off of Buck Road.
Given the nature of it, there wouldn't need to be access. It would just be left as open spaces unmaintained,
Well, what if trees fall on the neighboring property, or there's something that happens on that lot? There has to be a way for the HOA to get access to that.
well, they could,
I don't know if they can get access from Buck Road. Certainly it's adjacent to Lot 1. I think that's Lot 1.
If that's a concern, we could certainly do a temporary access easement right on the corner edge of the property for, wide enough for a truck to get in there if ever needed to be. But if a tree falls down,
Well, it wouldn't be a
we
temporary.
would access it from the neighbor's property, not from the open space.
You almost need an access easement across Lot 1 to get to it, I think. And I don't think a temporary access easement's going to work. It has to be a permanent easement.
Yeah.
Yeah, understood, but if a tree fell,
I'm just using that as an
Onto
example.
one.
What if it's something else? What if it needs to be cleared out for some reason? Who knows?
we can certainly
But
put.
there's no if you're telling, you're seeming to indicate there's no way to access that site.
So I have.
We could put a depression along Buck Road, just a little depression that would allow enough for a truck to get in there.
If that works, I mean, I'd be up to the engineer's office to make sure that
Oh, sure,
that's
we'd work with them.
designed properly
Yeah.
and.
There was a prior version of this plan that had driveways that came out from those single lots
Yeah.
to Buck Road, and we eliminated them again for consistency and consolidating traffic off of Buck Road, right? So it makes more sense to have one access point. But the availability is there to put access off of Buck Road right onto that property. Just like adjacent is the township open space right next to it. I'm sure very similar situation about how that parcel's accessed, so.
And the likelihood of it ever needing to be accessed, I think the best thing would be to put back a slight depression along Buck Road and just be done with it there. I think that's the easiest way.
Yeah, some kind of access system
Yeah.
to get onto the site for whatever.
Anything that's probably going to go up there is going to have to be probably a pretty big truck that could even
Right.
jump a curb anyway. But yes, we could reduce the depression slightly for that. We wouldn't have to go to it.
So I think Amanda can follow up with you on that.
Okay. Yeah, we can take care of that on the PennDOT HOP
Yeah.
side.
Okay.
So, thank you for coming. I didn't really formally thank you. Thank you very much. We do appreciate you
Couldn't
being
do
here.
without
I'm looking for just, maybe a little path forward here. So I think you kind of hear everybody's comments. We don't have a motion on the table or anything like that. Just quick summary, what I'm hearing is that there are things you can look at and are willing to look at. What's your name, Dan?
Dan, yes.
I can't ask you to do calculations on your phone in a meeting. It's not fair to you guys.
I can
No,
ask him.
you can, but I don't want to try to pin you down.
Yes.
So we have that. We have the flag lot issue as far as that. We have the depression on Buck Road. I mean, do you guys want to move forward tonight with a vote, or would you prefer to take the next 30 days, come back in July, work these things out, then when we have an opportunity to ask some questions, you can give some really firm answers. How big will the house be? Can they put a deck there? Can they put a shed there? No, they can't. Whatever the answers are, they are. We can get access to the open space. It's your choice. I'm happy to move forward either way. I think I kind of know what you're looking for, but I want to ask you.
Well, if I'm reading the room, I think it probably would be a little silly for me to force a vote tonight on something. Then, and I respect all of the opinions, and I get it. I may disagree slightly in the issue in terms of long-term, but I obviously respect it, and I can't sit there and say if I was you, I wouldn't have, have the same sort of reservations and feelings about protecting future. I think you're probably more trying to protect future board members than you are your current, because if someone came in front of you. What?
Future residents, I mean.
Well, future residents and also the
Yeah,
board from
yeah.
having to have a difficult,
Sure, yeah.
make a difficult situation.
We
Yes.
do-
The
we do-
residents, I can tell you, the residents, I don't think, on that lot, they're going to know what they have, but from your standpoint.
Well, the other
future
12
boards-
residents may
Tom, you
not.
don't work in my office.
Look,
You can have them give my number, and I will stand up
Yeah.
here.
Yeah,
So-
it's not gonna
Anyway, so I think, to what your point is, like, why don't we, Dan and I will circle up, we'll try to give you, we'll work internally with the staff, and see if we can find something that keeps 13 where it is. Hopefully, we can convince you guys. If not, we'll have to pivot to a Plan B. I don't think we're ever going to be able to come back to you and say we can get a pool, but hopefully Dan can work some magic and come back and say we can alter some design with obviously the township engineer's approval that can give us, and come back to you, say you can get a shed this size and a deck this size, and maybe hopefully we can convince you that that's sufficient. But yeah, I think that's right.
I think my recommendation is that, if you want to do that, work with the township engineer and the township staff to work out all those details, anything that you think you need to do with deeds, restrictions, and all. Just make sure Mr. Pizzo has seen it, understands it. It's a lot easier for you guys to work that than to have all these questions here again. Happy to do it either way, but the more buttoned up it is, I think.
No, we can
the easier it is.
look, if we can get past the concerns, the legitimate concerns of the board on Lot 13, the documentation will be relatively, it's not, it's been done thousands of times.
Yep.
So that'll be easy. But the first hurdle, obviously, is trying to hopefully see what we can do on Lot 13.
So
Look
just
at
to-
narrowing the cartway.
Yep.
So just to close it for the record, are you requesting that we hold off on a vote? You would like to go back, take some of the information you heard today, and then work on the plan and information and come back at a future date?
Yes.
Okay.
Can I just have one other follow-up comment? I just want to, just from my perspective, and I think other board members, it's not just coming back to this board saying, on Lot 13, we could fit a shed 5x7, we could squeeze in a small deck and things like that. I strongly am opposed against having the stormwater management system on Lot 13. You have not convinced me tonight that makes sense in having a house there. I just want to be crystal clear with you on that.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm just trying to be honest. I don't want you to waste your time coming back and say, well, we can put a shed here, it's 5x7, we could put a little patio here, things like that. So I would direct your efforts, if you could, to working with the open space as a stormwater management system. I do think it makes sense to have a centralized stormwater management system as opposed to individual lots, so I fully support that. There's been some minor comments that we made here and there. I think there's some things that the township's been very accommodating, allowing, we're going to take dedication of the roads, we're taking a narrower street, we're also, proposing some other things too that make it easier for you.
Oh, no,
That's,
please.
I think it's a big issue for the board, to be
Please
honest with you.
don't have our conversation misconstrue that I have anything other than it's been a fine process and everyone has worked very professionally and been very accommodating with us. So please, don't take that any other way.
We're not hurting you.
It's me just trying to convince
We
you.
have thick skin, so you're not going to hurt our feelings, but.
Well, even so, that's not, I want to be clear that it's.
Yeah, no, I get it, yeah.
Everyone's been working with us very, very well and been very accommodating, and we've worked through with Dan,
And you're getting very close. I think you're very close here. I mean, I know it's a long path, but you're getting very close here, so it's good.
If I may, I'll generally mirror what Mr. Moore just said because I don't want to be ambiguous in anything. However, I will reserve judgment, but along the lines of what you're proposing in part to do, as I understood it, what may or may not be permissible there is going to be largely dependent upon the footprint of whatever house is built there, which is an uncertainty. So I'm not quite sure how we're going to do this.
Well, we
Don't
could
say
make
this
that
is the
less-
smallest house possible, and therefore this is the biggest deck we can do. I'm just, based on what you said, wondering how you're going to come back and say, by the way, here's the deck you can do, here's the shed you can do. I don't know that that's going to cut it.
This won't be a shell game. Like, we're not going to say, well, we can fit this, but the reality is that's only if you can fit a 1,500 square foot house. We'll come back internally. We'll show various scenarios and. I understand exactly what you're saying. You're right. If if you and what we could do is we could restrict, again, if there are options, and it's a smaller house, but that would allow more things, although I think maybe there's doesn't
least one
matter,
member-
doesn't matter what goes on over there, but I don't know how the rest feel, but we could do only X house size would fit on there, and that would give the flexibility for the board or for the residents to build extra things on the outside other than the internal footprint of the house.
You're here this evening, I'd rather you hear that tonight than hear this next month.
Yep.
I'm thinking it now. This is not something we're rooting against per se, but I'd rather you know all the concerns and
No.
see if you can work
I
around
appreciate
them or
it.
address them
Absolutely.
now.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, well, thank you very much for
Tom, thank
coming.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Before,
I'm sorry.
before we're done, I don't know if the township certainly has some sort of an extension of time under the requirements of the MPC for consideration of this
I
plan.
think you're actually covered by the original submission.
Okay, but in any event, again, since I don't know, and out of an abundance of caution for the township, I'd just like placed on the record that you're granting the township an additional extension of time for consideration and action, a decision on this plan under the various requirements of the municipality's planning code, and that extension, if it's not already in place beyond August 31, that you're granting us an extension at least to August 31. And that'll be confirmed in writing. Again, you can coordinate with Mr. Solomon on tomorrow in that regard.
I'm pretty sure, it's been a while, but I'm pretty sure with the initial submission that it's covered. But
It probably was, but I wouldn't be doing my job if I
No, we'll
didn't
dot
at
I's
least
and
have
cross T's on it.
something
That's no
on the
problem.
record.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have
Thank
a good
you.
night.
All right, next up, we have the consider authorization to advertise a public meeting to consider an ordinance amendment to add a stop sign at the intersection. So I'm going to open up that hearing and give it to you, Bob.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I may, I'm going to move for an ordinance amendment.
Please.
I move for advertisement of a public meeting on July 25th, 2023 at 7:00 p.m. at the Township Building to consider an ordinance amending the Northampton Township Code, specifically Chapter 15, Motor Vehicles and Traffic, Part 2, for the purpose of adding a stop intersection on the southbound approach of Stoneyford Road at its intersection with Signal Hill Road.
I'll second it.
Okay, just catch that date again? What was that date?
July 25th, I believe, is the proposed date.
Is that the right meeting date? Was it 26th, I think? I think we might have a typo. Okay.
I think we have, okay.
Make sure we're good.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second. Any other comment, Bob?
No, other than correcting the date that was in my notes. No,
Sorry.
nothing further. No, I'm glad you did for the record, but that's the date I
I fully
had.
support it. I think it makes sense.
I fully support it also. Yes.
I'm good as well. Because this is a public hearing, is there any public comment on that? All right, none. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Hearing's closed. Next, up for you, Bob, fuel awards.
Yes, thank you. On behalf of the Bucks County Consortium, Northampton Township advertised in the Bucks County Courier-Times for bids to purchase unleaded regular gasoline and number 2, heating oil for the contract period August 1, 2023 to July 31, 2024. If I may make a motion.
Please.
I move to award a contract to Riggins Incorporated of Vineland, New Jersey for unleaded regular gasoline and ultra-low sulfur diesel, and Wilson Oil and Propane in Wallingford, Pennsylvania for number 2 heating oil, 5,999 gallons or less, and award a contract to Petroleum Traders Corporation, Fort Wayne, Indiana for unlimited regular gasoline, ultra-low sulfur diesel, and number 2 heating oil above 6,000 gallons or greater for the contract period August 1, 2023 to July 31, 2024 at the bid prices quoted to the Bucks County Consortium.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
As long as the dates were correct in this, I have no further discussion.
Kim? Anything else?
I'm good.
Barry?
No comments.
Nothing from me. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you. Next, we have some surplus equipment to sell. Paula?
Yes, okay. Mr. Hucklebridge, he is the Public Works Director, and he is indicated that we can sell some surplus items, and they're valued at more than $2,000, and so we have to approve that as the Board of Supervisors. And I'd like to make a motion, if I can.
Please.
I move to authorize the Township Administration to sell surplus equipment at public auction as recommended by the Department of Public Works. And a memorandum dated June 15, 2023. It was a skid steer and a brine maker. I'm requesting that we advertise for sale the following surplus equipment through municipal bid.
Can we have a motion? Is there a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion, a second. Any further comment, Paula?
Yeah, that's it.
Kim?
No, I think it's a great idea.
Barry?
Nope, great.
Bob?
Love making money with things we don't need anymore. so.
None from me. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next up, we have a recommendation for a Wall of Honor nominee. Kim?
Yes. The Northampton Township Wall of Honor is an award to recognize individuals who have made lasting contributions to the community and have contributed to the quality of life for the residents of Northampton Township. The objective of the Wall of Honor program is to see that individuals which have made valuable and lasting contributions to the community are recognized. The honoree is selected by a committee based on the following specific criteria. The individual or individuals selected will be honored with the placement of a plaque that will be mounted on the Wall of Honor located in the township's municipal park for all to see and become a part of Northampton Township's history. To be considered for this award, nominees must have been a resident during the time of community service, contribution, or accomplishment, must have participated as a volunteer in activities and/or accomplishments that benefited or had a positive impact on the lives of residents of Northampton Township, demonstrated outstanding qualities of leadership, community spirit, and would be considered a role model. Every year, the township solicits nominations from the public. The nominations are reviewed by the Wall of Honor Committee, and if a nomination is deemed worthy, the committee makes a recommendation to the board on the recipients for the Wall of Honor. Now, every year, we don't always pick someone until we have somebody who is really special and deserves this. After careful and thoughtful deliberation, the committee unanimously recommends to the Board of Supervisors that the 2023 honoree for the Community Wall of Honor be Ed Engel. We honored Ed in January as a citizen proclamation, but we wanted something more lasting for him, and we had a lot of people submit his name. So with that, I move to confirm the recommendation of the Wall of Honor Committee. Oh, I just wanted to say a couple things he did. He was on the planning board, and he worked with Northampton Day, and he helped. I have to tell you, Betty Satterley would ask him anything, and he would do anything for our community. He helped with homeless people and helped at his church and helped mow lawns for, he just did everything and was just a wonderful man. So with that, I confirm the recommendation of the Wall of Honor Committee to award Ed Engel as a 2023 recipient of the Northampton Township Wall of Honor. The quality of life for the residents of Northampton Township has been enhanced by Mr. Engel, who through his volunteer service made valuable and lasting contributions that make this community a great place to live, work, and play. His life shall be celebrated and honored forever.
Is there a second?
That. I'll second
We
that,
have a
yes.
motion and a second. Anything further, Kim?
No, I think it is well-deserved, and I think it's a beautiful thing.
Paula?
He was a great guy. I've known him
Absolutely.
for years.
Barry?
No, great guy. Knew him on the planning commission, and everything Kim and Paula said, very good.
Couldn't have anyone more deserving.
I have two words, excellent choice. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That's really nice. Really nice. Thank you, Kim. Next up, every year we have to give an annual report on our municipal separate storm sewer system, MS4 permit. Amanda?
Sure, thank you, Mr. Chairman. As he mentioned, this is just an update on the annual ongoings for the township's MS4 permit, which was approved on May 15th, 2019. The township has until May 2024 to complete the requirements of the current permit cycle. These requirements are mandated by DEP for every municipality in Pennsylvania, and the township does remain in compliance with the current requirements of the permit. Each municipality is required to renew the permit 6 months prior to the expiration date, so we'll submit on behalf of the township the MPDES permit renewal by December 1st of this year. As part of the permit, the township is required to construct several projects to help reduce stormwater pollutants, for which the township has proposed to retrofit 8 to 10 basins throughout town. The township is about to start on one basin retrofit on Jennifer Lane, which is slated to be completed the next month or two. Additionally, partial grant funding has been secured for a basin retrofit at the intersection of Holland and Upper Holland Roads. As soon as the remainder of the grant funding is secured, design can begin on that project as well. Lastly, there is helpful information and tips regarding pollution reduction and stormwater management in general on the township website under the Building and Codes section. And I'm sure if anyone has any further questions, they can reach out. But there is a lot of information regarding stormwater management on the website. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Amanda. There's no action that needs to be taken by the board. Next up, the liaison reports. Kim?
Yes, first, Parks and Rec. Our summer-long camps began on Monday, June 26th. The Park and Rec Department welcomed approximately a little over 400 campers, ages 5 through 15, and 75 staff members at 4 different camp locations throughout the township. Despite the rain, everyone is having a blast getting to know each other. July is Park and Rec Month. We know that. We gave the award. And celebrate Northampton Township Parks and Rec by attending the free concerts on Thursday in the municipal park. July concerts are Class Act on July 13th, Barefoot Bobby and the Breakers on July 20th, and July 27th welcomes Matt Friedman and the Herd. Feel free to start early and attend tomorrow night's concert in the park featuring The Mix, featuring favorite hits from the 1960s to the 1990s. And I have to tell you, I have gone to the last 3 weeks' concerts, and they have been fabulous. We started with our kids from Council Rock North and South, the jazz bands from the middle school and the high school. They were phenomenal. And then we had a kids concert that was so good. And then last week we had dueling pianos that everybody, it was such a joy to see. We had from old to young, families, people were dancing, and it's all free, and it's a wonderful concert. So I highly recommend it to everybody. Discount tickets to your favorite attractions are available in the Park and Rec office or the Rec Center. Please contact 215-357-6800 or 215-357-5396 to make sure that we have your favorite theme park, zoo, or museum tickets in stock. There's still room for a limited number of one-week specialty camps for July and August. Don't miss out on a week of fun for your kids. All right, and we have the Senior Center. It's the perfect time of year to fill those long, warm summer days with unlimited activities with fun in a cool, comfortable place right here in the township. Where do you ask? At the Senior Center, of course. There's classes, activities, educational programs, special events, parties, bus trip, and fun for those age 55 and better. It's a great place to make friends and meet new people. This year, the start of summer also marks the beginning of the center's membership year. The year runs July 1st through June 30th. It's really easy to join the center. For an annual membership fee of a mere $25, there's a long list of benefits for being a member of the center. They include discounts on classes, bus trips, members-only events, an exclusive members-only coupon book with deals offered from local businesses, weekly e-blast news alerts, and the 16-page bi-monthly newsletter delivered to your home, to name a few of the perks. Upcoming trips includes the Wind Creek Casino in Bethlehem and the Dutch Apple Dinner Theater in Lancaster to see Guys and Dolls. On Friday, August 4th, the center will be holding a boardwalk blast. Food, fun, music, and dancing with all of your favorite boardwalk treats and memorable seashore and summer tunes. Feel free to stop by the center for a tour and information Monday, Wednesdays, and Friday, 9 to 3:30, and Tuesdays and Thursdays from 9 till 8. You can also access the center's website at northamptonsc.com or call 215-357-8199. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Kim.
Thank you, Kim. Paula?
Okay, I'll start with the Veterans Advisory Commission. We had a very well-attended and patriotic Memorial Day and Flag Day event. Our plans are underway for Veterans Day ceremony on Saturday, November 11, right here at the Northampton Township Administration Building outside. And the Hometown Heroes wreath laying for our veterans on their grave sites will take place at Union Cemetery, as usual, on Saturday, December 2nd at 11 a.m. And we have continued to have conversation with the students and faculty from Council Rock North Veterans Club. They are excited to meet with us very soon, and we'll stay in contact with them. There are no vet meetings being held this summer, if anyone wants to know that. Okay, and then the library. First of all, the library would like to take a moment to say thanks to all our supervisors for the recognition of the library and its staff at the May meeting. We continue to be grateful for the board's support. Summer Quest 2023 is now underway. We opened with a successful kickoff event on Saturday, June 17, sponsored in part by Rita's of Richboro, who graciously donated water ice for our attendees. Two big family events are coming up. They include a magician, Rand DeShine, on Monday, July 10, at 6:30, and we host Da Vinci Science Center of Allentown, excuse me, and their program called Grossology on Tuesday, July 18 at 6:30. Bring your families to the library for 2 awesome evenings of entertainment. And lastly, and I think most importantly, the library's Strategic Plan Committee has finished its writing of the first ever strategic plan, which will be reviewed by the library board, and we expect approval should occur at the September library board meeting. At that point, we'll most likely recommend adoption to we Board of Supervisors. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Paula. I will say, I stopped in the library today I was there, so middle of the week, middle of the day, I stopped in to pick up a book. It was packed.
I know.
It's incredible.
They have
It's
so many
incredible.
programs.
There was so much stuff going on. It was really
That's
great.
I'm glad you went.
Thank you. Bob?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just briefly, the municipal authority, many people may not have known that the role of executive director was unfilled for the past few months. I'm pleased to say the new executive director, Michael Sullivan, has started, so publicly welcome to Mr. Sullivan. Otherwise, I would just say to everyone, have a happy and healthy 4th of July. Remember what we're celebrating and appreciate the freedoms we have in this country.
Thank you, Bob. Barry?
Bob, well said. The Planning Commission in June was canceled due to a lack of agenda items. Zoning Hearing Board did meet on June 12th and had a number of appeals for residential, nothing major. One thing that's happening in Holland is that the land development plans have been submitted for the Mill Race Inn. In addition to renovating the building itself, the original building, there's also a proposal of 39 residential condos along the Mill Race River there. So that meetings will be scheduled when reviews are, to planning and zoning in upcoming months here. That's all I have.
Okay, thanks, Barry. I just have one quick point to make. Recently, there was an incident in one of our parks that required the use of a defibrillator device, an AED. There was one on site, and 2 bystanders deployed it before the emergency medical service and the fire department got there, and it had a good positive outcome. What I would suggest for those listening, if you have not had CPR and AED training, you get it. And even if you haven't, take a few minutes, go on YouTube and just look to see how an AED is used. They are in many public places, including many of the Northampton Township sites, and anybody can use one and deploy it. They work, and if you use them fast enough, you can have a good positive outcome. So I was really happy on both accounts. I'm happy there was one there, and I'm happy that it worked. Thank you for that. Okay, next is manager's report. Bob?
I have no report this evening. Happy 4th of July to everyone.
Thank you. Mr. Wirt is not with us this evening for assistant manager's report. I'll move to Mr. Pizzo.
Yes, the record should reflect that the board met in an executive session this evening between the agenda meeting and the supervisors meeting for approximately 30 minutes. Present for the executive session were the 5 members of the Board of Supervisors, the township manager, the township engineer, and me. One matter of pending litigation was discussed. No official action was taken during the executive session, and no official action was required at this evening's meeting as a result of that executive session. Other than that, I wish everyone a happy 4th of July and everyone in the community as well.
Thank you, Joe. Amanda?
No report, just a happy 4th of July again to everybody as well.
Thanks, Amanda. Okay, I have many people signed up for public comment, more on the list than are in the room, so I'm just going to go down. I believe a few people left. Missy Decker? Holly Lish? Justin Delicio? Oh. Whatever you're comfortable doing. Would you prefer to sit? If you don't mind sitting at the microphone. So can I have your name for the record?
Justin Delicio.
And you are a resident of Northampton Township?
I have my deed to the Spring Avenue development right next to the Bucks County Roses development. So I could camp there? Does that make me a resident? I don't know.
You're welcome to speak. Thank you.
Thank you for your hospitality. I appreciate that. Like I said, I'm Justin Delicio. I'm a former avionics, F-16 avionics technician, electrical engineer, software developer, and currently a project management professional. My wife, Dr. Frances Norton, is home in Manayunk, putting our 9-month-old Remy Alessandra to bed. So she's not here with us, and that's why. I'm here just inquiring about the status of the Spring Avenue subdivision. I've looked through the Chapter 22, I don't know how to call it, minutia, just trying to go over getting my ducks in a row, making sure that I can come here with information and good questions. Also referring to the builder and the seller of or I guess the developer of the subdivisions, making sure that they are speaking to future residents of those lots as well. I'm a futurist myself, electrical engineer, so I'm trying to make a net zero goal. So I also have another question which I can ask at the end of this if it is affecting a permeable surface for like 64-foot by 16-foot solar panel array to supply 20 kilowatts of power to a house. Sorry, it's a lot to say. So right now the status of the building permit, as far as I've heard, is that it is up to the Board of Supervisors, and I'm not sure how to approach this if this is the right time, but I figured I could show face and maybe get a good rapport. they're saying that we needed like an escrow portion, but I have also the first construction payment letter, just with your typical construction permanent mortgage. And then, like I said, I also have the deed, so we own the lot now, I guess. I don't know how it all works. I'm just really naive, but trying to, again, take initiative. My question is, sorry, I wrote this. The pending township approval is the development agreement that Kelly, who's the, I guess, the legal representation of Gap Holding Company, which does the subdivision. I had watched a lot of these videos with the Board of Supervisors meeting and the district development, no, I'm not sure, the different development with sorry, Mike Solomon, where they go through the iterations. You have a lot of videos online to watch, and I've watched as much as I can, but I don't have as much information that makes me understand what's going on and what else needs to be done. I think we're at like the end of the race. We've already got our plans. I drafted it in CAD because I'm impatient, and I have a 3D model of the lot. I wanted really badly to answer to them that we have a subjective NPDES approved stormwater management system that I was like, oh yeah, that's awesome, because I had to look and see what is a rain garden. I didn't want a rain garden, but they're actually doing something else, I guess. I don't know. You're gonna let me talk forever.
Well, I think I might be able to help you out a little bit. I think there's probably two questions that I think you're asking. Number one is, what's the status of the lot? It's the lots themselves, and then second, I think what you're asking is, how do you know how you can go about doing what you want to do on that lot, right?
Yes.
So I'll answer the second one.
There's a third question, but
Okay, so if you want to do something on the lot, the best recommendation from the board is to come in and see Mike Solomon.
Yes.
And talk through with him, and he's much better at being able to point you than this group could ever do tonight. And maybe, Bob, you can...
Yeah, this subdivision was approved, so you're at the point where you want to build a home?
yeah,
So the board here does not approve building permits. Those are done by the staff. So nothing would come back to this board for any approvals. So your work actually has to be with Mr. Solomon and his department.
okay.
I
Then
guess,
was
yeah,
maybe-
just for clarification, the subdivision had some deferred items, so he had mentioned an escrow and things like that would be on him.
Is the development agreement finished?
And there is some sort of shared development agreement that would have to be prepared by the solicitor.
Okay.
However, again, I think you're correct that
Yeah, it
nothing would
doesn't
need to
come
come
back
back to the
here.
board.
Okay, I was maybe falsely informed, I apologize, but I do have pertinent information, or I guess two other things, I'm sorry. So my question about the net zero potential, I don't know if a solar panel array, I don't know, I look on Google Maps, you can see who has solar panels in their houses everywhere. Don't see many net zero houses, just really in America in general, or at least in the East Coast, because of our light exposure. But even with the smoky air lately and stuff, I'm still optimistic that we can achieve a net zero house there. I don't know if solar panels, because I don't want to put them on the roof, because then I have to angle the house, because the azimuth doesn't work. You don't get the right angle of sunlight throughout the year on a house that's facing the road that, I'm just working with the plot that we were given. I didn't, strategically find a lot that was like 62 degrees south, that kind of thing. But does a solar panel array, if it's erected above the ground, no concrete underneath, does that qualify as a permeable surface?
So again, go back to Mr. Solomon. He is the place to go.
Yeah, you
is
need
the
to go
place to
back to
go.
the zoning and planning department. They can answer all of those questions.
Awesome.
It's probably not affecting the impervious surface area, but it would be affected by setback requirements.
Oh, yes, understood. Okay, thank you.
Okay?
The other one with and I figure I can follow up with this. I don't want to have to come next month and just babble on again. There was one concern when I saw that this group met about this Spring Avenue subdivision, about taking a right-hand turn out of that Spring Avenue Road. And I know there's a sign at the end of the road that says, don't turn left, because it's blind. But I know there's also the rail trail development that's in consideration, and I'm not sure, I'm not trying to lobby for any sort of improvement or destruction of the existing rail over Buck Road, but I'm asking if there's consideration with, that's a major development, 13 lots taking out Bucks County Roses, do they have any, well, obviously not. I saw it today, actually. I answered my own questions. But is it possible to envision, and how can I help with that vision of adding, or I guess reconstructing that bridge over Buck Road to accommodate for the new rail trail? I know that we're ending at Churchville Road with what's been approved to be completed by 2025. Sorry, Churchville Nature Center, sorry. But beyond that, it seems like a pretty straight shot up until that bridge. So I'm curious as to how I can assist as like a homeowner that would probably be of impact potentially for any major construction there, but I don't know what the plan is to cross that road.
I would tell you first that the county is the lead agency on the rail line conversion. That section is probably well into the future.
Yeah, understood.
It's very, very unlikely that that bridge would be reconstructed in
Okay.
any way to accommodate the rail trail. That bridge has been there for 100 years, and it's probably not going anywhere.
Got it. Cool.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for your hospitality once again.
Robert Levine, Cheryl Radin, Frank Cates, Kevin Farrell, Jim, I can't read the last name. I know Joe Johnston. Evening, Joe.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, Board. Joe Johnston. I am a resident. We're not giving addresses no more. We stopped doing that.
You can if you like, but it's not necessarily required.
So I'm here again to follow up on the conversation that's been happening through April, May, just to try to quickly get through it. I was here in April. I asked several questions about the township's involvement or lack thereof with the design of the rail trail. Now, I'll read a paragraph from the April 26th Board of Supervisors minutes, which are approved. Following that question, a discussion ensued with the supervisors and the township manager, explaining this is a county project. The board endorsed the concept, but is not involved going forward. The board noted that it can influence the design of the project, as far as of project safety to protect the residents, but it cannot turn the project down. Okay, so, it's been 2.5 years since Resolution R20-6 was approved, so perhaps, it wasn't on people's mind at the time, okay? But I was aware of it. I didn't have it with me, so, I came back in May, and of course, the resolution says that Northampton Township does hereby resolve to support the concept, concept again, keyword, on developing the portion of the Newtown Rail Trail. And right now, we're just talking about from Churchville Nature Center to Bristol Road. Okay. And then the resolution goes on. It says that the supervisor of Northampton Township hereby assigns the township manager, chief of police, and township engineer to work with the county of Bucks to ensure the safety, privacy of its residents remain a priority during the design. I'll say it twice, and the construction phase of the projects. So obviously, we're in the conceptual stage, which is what they have approval for, and by wording it like this, okay, concept, that gives the county the ability to go out and seek grants, okay, for design, which they've done, okay? But, I took issue with that the board cannot turn the project down. I think that was misguided advice. Perhaps resolution R20-6 wasn't in mind when they said that, or when they said they can influence design. They can influence the design. Now, influence, I think, is a weak word, okay? Because what I explained last month was that this project is a little different than the average county project, okay? SEPTA controls the right-of-way on the rail line. The county agreed to get every municipality as part of the project to get approval. We've given them conceptual approval so far, okay? Now, even if we gave them permanent approval, doesn't matter. The board is still able to change their mind, okay? Here's a couple, I did a little research, Supervisors Handbook, an ordinance, a law or statute enacted by a municipality. See resolution. Resolution, a decision, opinion, or directive of a municipality expressed in a formally drafted document, but not having the force or effect of law, okay? Then I go to the code, second-class township code, and look up ordinances. The Board of Supervisors may amend, repeal, or revise existing ordinances, okay? Now, there was nothing under resolution, okay, but a resolution is subservient to an ordinance. So if you can change an ordinance, I'm pretty sure you can change a resolution, okay? So, you know, I had asked, you know, what the board's position was going to be, because the advice of this board cannot turn down the project. You know, we have two supervisors here, Supervisor Gasper and Salzer, who were not around when this resolution was passed, and chances are they're not familiar with it. Okay, they are now because I read it, and they can go back and read it some more. So I don't think that advice was fair to them. It's not fair to the residents. So I asked, if I'm wrong, okay, why am I wrong? Is there a legal reason, or we're just afraid to ruffle feathers up at the county? Okay, so that's one question. And the second question is about the board's involvement, okay? The committee, Mr. Chairman, that the board formed was to work, like I said, during the design process. But we're not, so far, we haven't done anything. Now, I asked if we reached out to the residents, did the police chief contact the residents to see what their concerns are? You know, how's this board or this committee, more or less, lack of a better term, how are they operating? What have they done so far? And I think as of last meeting, the answer was nothing. So I'm hoping I can get an update on that. And again, as far as, you know, influence the design, I talked about leverage, okay? And that the fact that, you know, is it likely that we're going to turn the project down? I have no idea, okay? But the option is there. So it's a difference between playing softball or hardball. Of course, we want to play softball with the county. You know, everybody should be, you know, get along and be professional. But if it comes down to a certain issue, maybe we need to play hardball. That gives us the leverage to do it. And I don't think that this resolution gave up that leverage, and I don't think it was the intention of the board of 20 to give up that leverage. So, you know, I'd like to hear some comments. I mean, you had 30 days to, you know, you said you were going to take it under advisement last month, so I would like to hear some board comments. You know, you had 30 days to decide. So that's it.
I'm not sure if anybody from the members of the board have any comments. Bob, you have something?
Well, I can address one issue that you brought up, Joe. At the time the county is ready with their design, I believe their plan is to reach out to residents who are impacted, and you're not one of them at this point.
Correct.
In this section, to find out what they want as far as screening, fencing, landscaping, access to the trail, et cetera, et cetera. And at that time, the township will participate in any discussions that are necessary with those residents to make sure that their safety concerns are addressed, their access concerns are addressed, and their privacy is addressed in terms of whatever kind of screening, fencing, or whatever that they want. And that's how I see the role of the committee, if you will, which is me and the police chief and so forth. But up to that point, we're not there yet. They're going to be in design for probably another 6 months. So when we get to that point where they reach out to us and they say, hey, we're ready to go, do you have any comments? We'll give them any comments. If residents need help, we're going to be there to help them. And that's what we're going to do. And there's nothing else that we need to do because, again, it's a county project. They're designing it. They have a deal with SEPTA. And this board has conceptually approved the concept of converting the rail line to the trail, and I don't believe there's any change in position at this point. And that's really all. I don't have any.
Right, and I understand that there's no change in position because there's nothing to see. What I'm saying is, when the time comes, that the advice given in the May meeting, that it's a done deal, was it was just misguided, okay? The board, whatever board reviews those plans, again, has the option.
The board's not going to review the plans. The staff is going to work with the county to address any concerns. One of the things that we're going to be looking at, and frankly have looked at already conceptually, are the two road crossings, to make sure that they have addressed all the safety concerns that we might have with crossing the roads. That's one of the things that we would be involved with.
Okay, so then how does this project go from concept to a permanent? Okay? Does the board?
They're in design now, and they're designing, they're doing the engineering design, which will be used for bidding construction of the project, and that's the next phase.
And Joe, I think Bob has answered your question. I just want to add that we would be involved in any project in the township when we have the opportunity, resolution or not. That's what the board does. But I do appreciate your point. I appreciate you bringing it up to us, and I appreciate your point of view. I don't think that there's anybody on the board that has any other comments for it, but thank you.
Okay. I'll just leave it to one comment. I'm glad to hear that, but it's not what I heard at the April meeting. Okay?
Okay,
Not what we-
thank you.
Okay?
I don't think we have anybody else. With no other business, the meeting is adjourned.